9. Yes,
Girl.
what's cool. I don't know. I tried something different and got nervous.
Hi.
Hi,
How's it
hi,
going?
hi. Oh,
How's everything?
everything is everything. What is
And
meant
what
to
will
be
be
will
will
be.
be. Okay?
What'd she say? After winter must come spring. Where the fuck is spring? I saw a meme today that was like, "Spring, fight back." I felt that shit. I was like, "Why is it snowing?" What did the groundhog say? How you doing, sis? Shanti, Shani.
I'm maintaining.
I know that's right.
I was actually don't feel like talking about what I have on here.
Oh,
What I'm going to talk about is how The Last of Us and the Murdoch files. Do you know about the Murdoch murders in South Carolina?
what? Wait. Can you stick with The Last of Us first? You asked me to watch too much stuff at once. I was so excited to talk to you about it, and now you're on to the next
The
thing.
Last
What's the Murdoch
of Us?
files?
Murdaugh. I'm saying it wrong. Everybody, it's Murdaugh, not Murdoch.
It's murder, like murder,
Murdaugh.
like as if murder.
Murdaughh. Murdaugh.
Oh, that's somebody's name.
Yes.
Child, I thought you were saying murder, like murder.
Murder. You thought I was being urban?
Yes. I thought the name of the title was. Oh my God. Okay. No,
Girl.
what's that one?
Anyway, okay, we'll start with The Last of Us. Listen, the second to last episode I wasn't that thrilled about.
Which one? That was the one in the mall?
No, the second to last was the one with the fire
church.
scene.
I loved that one.
I don't know why that episode didn't really do it for me. I was like,
what?
But this last episode really complicated things in a way that is so human and so beautiful and
that theme
so
of parenthood.
Fucking real and probable, and is a real it draws a line in the mud for the people that think our nigga Joel should have did what he did or he shouldn't have done what he done. And
in
the
both
consequences,
cases, should he done what he done when he took old girl, or when he said what he said to her at the end? There's so many things. Was he right? Was he wrong? Right? It's that theme of parenting. The parent needs the child in order to feel whole, but also the parent's trying to protect the child. But is the parent trying to protect the child? When does the child get to make their own decisions? Oh,
deeply human problems. Also showing the trauma and the consequence of trauma, right? Like he is moving from a really hurt place. She has saved him in so many ways, and he says it. Yeah. And I just cried watching that. I said, oh my goodness, what a beautiful, the intrigue. Also, just the plot twist. The plot motherfucking thickens.
What plot twist did you see here?
The
very end?
At the very end, when it's like
when
the consequence of that is going to be, we're going to see the consequence. That is like in a Game of Thrones when the window scene, it's like, oh, the ripple effect of what happens outside of the tower.
Did you watch the directors talk about it?
Yes.
Yeah. And they really brought it home.
Yeah.
Did you know that the mother... Oh, you did know because you watched it. I love that they chose...
I love that actress. What was she
I love her too. She was in What's a Face. Oh, man, I told Black the other day.
80s, 90s, like that's our generation.
The show that she was on.
I don't know, but
anyway, keep going. I'll find it.
She was also really cute. But before that, I was braiding Joe's hair, and I put on Netflix. My mom and my sister love like murdered mysteries and intrigue, so they were talking about the Murdaugh. You have to watch the Murdaugh. So it's a story about a family in South Carolina who were, I'm going to fuck up the word. They were the...
Growing pains, but go ahead.
District attorney? It's a district attorney. Mm. I forgot this role that they placed. But basically, they were the ones that made all the decisions around trials.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones that said the final thing around whether, somebody that going to get the death penny, weren't going to get the death penny. District attorney.
Penalty or penny? What are you saying?
Penalty.
Okay.
I have a speech impediment and it's not funny.
No, I wasn't laughing.
Not a district attorney. I feel like editing this so I can go.
Oh, God.
What is a district? What is that?
You acting like me when
position?
I get nervous when I'm
What
reading
is that
something?
position? Just know it's a high legal position, and they had
DEA.
basics. But yes.
Okay.
Similar to that, yes. Basically, they had the courts on lock for at least a century. So the granddaddy passed it on to his son, who passed it on to their present day son, who was going to pass it on to his sons.
Mm-hmm.
But the intrigue and the abuse of power that these people wielded against their community and each other is just jaw-dropping. So they talk about how this lawyer, the Murdaws is the name of the family, and the most recent father of this dynasty, if you will, he had 2 sons, and to protect himself, he killed one of his sons and his wife, Antoinette.
Is this a true story?
This is a true story. It's recent.
What is
I don't know
this
if you
on?
saw it in the news, but when it was developing, I remember seeing it on the news. He's redhead.
Are you talking about the guy that just got sentenced to life?
He just got sentenced
he killed
to 5 times, 5 life sentences for killing his wife and his son.
Okay, yes.
Because he was hiding and nervous about all of his wrongdoing that he'd done on the community for years. And so connected to this family are at least 4 murders in that community connected to them that gone unsolved. But when you go and trace back, you dot the lines, it always goes back to this family. But because they run the law, because they have influence over the police and lawyers, they always got away until basically he destroyed himself. And what he was doing, the thing that I kept thinking, because they were sharing all of these abuses that he had against poor white people. Mm-hmm. I kept thinking to myself, now, if they're talking about these poor white people catching hell, I can imagine the hell that they wreaked on poor black people for a century that we don't even have any idea about. And then they revealed he was doing a lot of insurance fraud. And so they start listing some of the victims of his insurance fraud. And he preyed on black, disabled, and poor people. So there were black people that had some type of insurance claim for millions of dollars, Antoinette, that he stole from them. $1 million. $100,000 here, $90,000 there. They have no way of defending themselves. And even if they did, they run the law. It was just...
What is this on?
Netflix and HBO. I watched the HBO. You need to watch it. It's jaw-dropping. And the evil, like the amount,
He has no remorse. Have you seen him?
It. I'm sorry?
He has no remorse. Have you seen him in the courtroom? He's just like...
It's like this, like they don't have souls. Like, where could he go? Where did he go? What happened to him? But it was really scary to watch, and also really, really sad for the amount of people that will really just were not going to receive any justice. And these niggas just be lying and getting away with it. These white collar crimes. Anyway, that's what I've been sitting with. And
well, he's not getting away with it right now.
He's only getting away because he murdered his wife and son. But had he not murdered them, I don't know if he would have gotten away with it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? And again, the thing, all of those murders that were connected to that family, those families, are not getting the acknowledgement and the, he's not technically in jail for those crimes that he committed, or his family and his wife. And his wife and sons were a mess too. Just an evil ginger family.
Oh,
Striking gingers.
R.I.P. to the dead, though. Well, on that positive note,
Sorry.
my updates, I don't know. I think I'm doing all right. We have a photo shoot this weekend. I'm heavy into premenstrual syndrome, so let's see what happens with my psychosis and my mental state.
We might be bleeding together.
Listen, and I'm not, I don't think my blood will be with me, but I do think that I will be, by that time, clinically insane and suffering from body dysmorphia and not wanting to see, not near a picture. So we're going to do it. We're going to see how we feel while we do it. And we're going to have a great time, hopefully, or cry. But either way, we'll be together.
Sure. And Amanda's coming through with the come through. It's going to be a get along gang.
Also, I think I'm in a place, talked about a little in the last episode, where I am ready and open to just creating the life I want for myself. I've been talking to people in my life who are very much, my Can't Afford Therapy co-hosts are on my behind right now about how they see the Around the Way Crows community and their value, because they're coming over to Can't Afford Therapy and they're sending emails and writing the comments and reviews and things like that are very thoughtful, very well thought out, and generous. And so they're like, yo, this is a really amazing thing that you have, and you need to do something with it. And I'm like, what does that, like, everybody keeps saying that, what does that mean? And they're like, well, you have a great network. Like, why don't you utilize your network? Like, what does that mean? And they're saying to me, go to people and say, hey, if there are any opportunities, hosting opportunities that you know of, hey, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z. If you know of anything, let me know. Hey, can I pick your brain, this and that? And I'm like, that sounds good, and it probably is what I should do, but it feels gross to me. It's like the people in my community who have a lot of influence are not in my community because they have that influence. Does that make sense? I genuinely know them and love them. Their relationship's not based on that.
Work.
We don't even talk about their work for the most part. We just shoot the shit and hang. And so to then try to, I don't know. Does that make sense to you, to try to navigate that and kind of reap benefits from that? Just feels icky to me. It doesn't feel. I'm trying to figure out if it's because I'm still fighting this worthiness thing, or if I'm genuinely like, that's not how I want to go about this. And so I know community is life, though. So it's like, what is the balance? And I'm really struggling to find that right now. It's like, I don't want to feel like I am, what is that word that I'm looking for? An opportunist. I don't ever want to come across as that, because I'm not. And so I'm just kind of navigating that and trying to understand how to ask for guidance or help, or just let folks know I'm open.
For guidance and feels like building a relationship and rapport about work with those folks feels more. I don't think anything's wrong with nepotism. I say it all the time, but in terms of you dipping your foot in, maybe it is a question around mentorship and guidance. Like, hey, I'm trying to extend my reach, or I'm trying to really take this seriously, and in terms of strategy or figuring out different opportunities. I really admire you, and I see how you're flourishing, and I just would always love to use you as for mentorship. I feel like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a reasonable ask. It's not like, hey, I know you got this tour coming up. Can I open for you? Or,
yeah, like, ooh.
hey, I have these ideas. I think you'd be really, I don't know.
I don't know either. But the first thing you said feels better to me. But if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to give us a call.
I was also thinking,
help me.
Different topic, but and you saying, oh, you're feeling like you don't want life to come to you. You want to go after it. I feel like a life coach would be really awesome for you.
Yeah, girl.
I think I think it would be worth, if you think of and that's where the worthy part, if you think you are worth it and it may be worth your investment and you think that it's like the money that would take to put in and get some clarity, because it's not therapy. It's like, I'm here with a strategy. I'm having these blocks. This is the space I want to be in the next year. And I've just actually got a couple recommendations from people of like, I've seen this life coach. She's amazing. I think that's an investment.
Let me know, because everybody's a life coach these days. Everybody wants to say and charge you, X amount of dollars for this much of their time, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about either.
I can give you you can vet them, but I can definitely send you the referrals, because there's two people that I know that
you've used.
I didn't have no life coach, but people that I know that are using life coaches.
My life doesn't older black woman.
A life coach.
I just need an older black woman, and you won't put me on.
No, nothing, child. Girl, go to school, be a nurse.
Cancel her, y'all. All right. Well, we'll figure out some life coach scenarios, but in the meantime, in between time. And listen, if you have any recommendations, please give us a call at 215-948-2780. That's 215-948-2780. Speaking of calls, we do have quite a few. And quite a few came in after I did this outline, so they won't be included. But, we're going to start first with this first one here. And, this is some constructive criticism for us. Surprise, surprise.
Hey, y'all. I finished the episode. This is Nicole again. Yeah, two separate thoughts. Sorry. This is another voicemail. Sorry, Shanti. But I just wanted to comment on the whole Chris Rock situation. So, while, yes, some of us are tired of hearing about it, I don't agree that Chris Rock should stop talking about it. He was embarrassed in front of his peers. Whether it's a week, whether it's a year, whether it's a day, it doesn't matter. He should be able to talk about it. Will Smith's therapy was slapping a nigga. Chris Rock's therapy is comedy. He talks. This is how he deals with things. He was embarrassed. He needed to figure out how to deal with it. I don't think it's fair to say that he shouldn't talk about it anymore because of the length of time. So I'm just going to give an example. Internet, you talk about, your insecurities and how you deal with them, and you talk about it a lot. It wouldn't be fair for me to say, oh my God, she's talking about this again. That's not fair. This is your therapy. Your therapy is to get on a podcast and talk, and you do it on a lot of podcasts, and that's okay. And I'm not tired of hearing about it. I love it because you're relatable to a lot of people, and I think that hearing you talk about it is good for some. There might be somebody out there that got slapped in front of 1 million people or in front of 5 people, and their way to deal with it is to go to the gym and punch something, and I don't know. I just don't feel like that's fair to say that he shouldn't talk about it. Nobody stopped Will Smith when he went up on that stage. There was no security. There was nothing. He went up there, did what he did, sat down, won an award in the next 5 minutes, and took away from Questlove's award. So I just think he should talk about it until he feels like he don't want to talk about it no more, because it's just what it is. It's only fair. It's to me, that's a fair one for him. So that's all I wanted to say. I love y'all. Keep talking about what you're talking about. I'm not saying to stop, but we shouldn't silence people. whether we don't want to hear about it or not. It's not our business to say that, you know. And also, if you're sitting in the front row of the Chris Rock show, we know this is comedy, any comedy show. If you're sitting in the front row, oh, you're looking to get talked about. This is what it is. And if this is what he's done his entire career, hey, man, that's what it is. Too bad. Okay, bye, y'all.
Did we say not to talk about it? I can't remember. Did he just
I don't think we told him to shut up. I think we were just critiquing. My thing is, I'm not that I agree in some ways, but I think in Will Smith's freedom to smack Chris Rock comes from a place of is a space for critique, and some could say came from a place of dysregulation in some way, and Chris Rock responding in his freedom, in anger, and in derogatory, comments about Will and Jada is also a form of dysregulation. Yes, they both have the freedom to do it, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know if it's moving a needle forward in terms of real resolution or real, resolution. They're both processing it their way. They have the freedom. I agree. I don't think he should be silenced, but I don't think it's like people can't say anything about him the same way people can say stuff about Will Smith's outbursts and outrage.
Yeah, I don't think we were attempting to silence him. And if we were, apologies. I think just the way he talked about it, I thought was corny and unproductive. And I don't know if it was therapeutic at all for anybody. And I didn't think it was funny. But that's my personal opinion. He can keep doing it.
He going to. It's aired. It's on Netflix. It's shit. That shit's a contractual.
Anyway, thank you for that. That's a good point, though. We should not be silencing folks just because we don't agree. Shanti, can you write down the time for this one? Ready. Next up. Oh, come on. Please work.
Hello, Shanti and Antoinette. This is Anika calling after listening to the Should We Slap Chris Rock Again episode on Monday, March 13th, I believe today is. Called y'all a couple of times before. Calling again because I do have a little perspective on the Fox News story. Just into the debate that you guys got into after talking about that story, about how much of the news we watch is potentially lies. Early in my adult life, I worked for a major news outlet, a major television network news, and it's been probably 20 years since I left there now, but I can provide a little perspective on that. On the one hand, yeah, Shanti is right that we absolutely do not hear or see everything that goes on, whether it's completely just not reported or it's, all this information condensed into short sound bites and packaged stories for, for example, a network news broadcast like your NBC, CBS, ABC, like your regular local channels. But what Antoinette is saying is absolutely correct, that normally we're not, or at least when I was in the news, which I left probably 20 years ago, but when I worked in a newsroom, normally we're not fabricating things. I definitely witnessed during two major global events where the decision was made to either not show something or to, spin it, not tell everything we know, but complete fabrication. I never witnessed that, and I was definitely part of production and planning meetings and things of that nature. So things are left out for sure. Things are not told, and I'm saying in the 20 years that I've been away, Fox News has become this huge juggernaut and has probably contributed to the way things are spun and the lies, by omission at least, that we are told. Keep doing your thing. We love you guys out here, and I'll listen out for more. Bye.
Before we respond, there's someone else who has a different point of view on this. Oh.
Shanti Antoinette, y'all killing me on 245. Listen, I'm going to just say this. Antoinette, I love that you keep up with politics. Shanti, I love how oblivious or how nonchalant you are in the position next to Antoinette. But I got to say, listening to you all briefly banter about lies and this new discovery and this lawsuit brought against, or the investigation that's going on with Fox News telling a potential bald-faced lie. Internet, do we not just go through COVID, girl? Come on, we know that they lied to us. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm talking back, and I'm like, come on. We all just went through COVID. We know that the government and the powers that be lied to us, withhold information, create agendas, and proceed to inject those agendas into our society. And it sounds, I could be wrong, but it sounds as though you keep cutting Shanti off because she opposes your belief or your faith that they wouldn't tell us this big of a lie intentionally. And I just say, as much as I keep up with politics too, I put nothing past, which sounds kind of like what Shanti is leaning to, even though she can't name an example of her belief. It's still like, I don't blame you, Shanti, for not trusting the government or anything, because anything is possible. I mean, we didn't find out the true things about COVID until afterwards, and half the population had already gotten the vaccine, and the other half was still watching to see if they turn into zombies. But we started finding out more information after we already started taking action, because we were listening to what? Their narrative, which was wrong. So I think it could be a bold-faced lie, Internet, and I don't think that's far-fetched. And it sounds like it would make you lose all your faith in democracy, but, honey, my faith is already lost in it, and I keep up. I'm not as far dated as Shanti, but I keep up, but I don't put anything past our government at all. So have a wonderful day. Love you. Bye.
I'll let you go first.
I think the topic which we were discussing was about the news, Fox News fabricating lies and defaming Dominion through their storylines and narratives, as well as them leaking their credibility being weakened by these leaks of the newscasters that supposedly support Trump, talking shit about him and basically being like, we ain't gonna fuck with him. So their whole position is weakened, and they seem like they, do not have any credibility. I think that was the heart of the discussion, and not necessarily about the government lying. So the conversation was around news. My stance, and it still is my stance, is that this is not a new thing. Maybe the transparency of this, it feels new, and it's like, oh my God, this is like groundbreaking. But my theory is that both sides, and again, this is the theory of polarized politics, the Democrats and the Republicans, the right and the left. NPR would never do this. CNN, NBC would newer do this. My idea is no, that's not necessarily true. I think that we're being fed things. Yes, they may be citing, they may be citing sources, but there's oftentimes those sources aren't credible either. And there are agendas, or there are ways in which people want to be influenced and can be influenced via the news to be swayed politically, to either, be swayed towards the left or be swayed towards the right. And I just think that that's a common practice. Maybe this is the first time that we've been this kind of, again, transparency and this kind of obvious disconnect and lies are being shown to the public. And it's, Fox News, which is like yucky to a lot of people. But no, I'm not surprised by it by any.
I think my point was lost on everybody. I think I have never. So to be really clear, my point was that there's never been a lawsuit like this that was so clear and so easy to prove defamation against a news source. That's monumental that defamation can be proven. I never said that the government doesn't lie. Again, I wasn't talking about the government. I even never said that. I never said that the media doesn't lie. I also said criticism of the media being biased and influenced by corporate dollars is fair. What I am saying is that for the largest news network to be sued in this way, for the reasons why they're being sued is monumental. And I'm also saying that if there are no repercussions, my main point was if they're not found guilty with all of this evidence, that is going to change the news for far worse than what it already is. That's my point in this. So if we think it's bad now, we need to buckle up, because without laws and standards, we just have anarchy. We have laws in place and people break them all the time. Does that mean that we shouldn't have the laws or try them in court? If we say, it's illegal to kill someone, and then we're like, well, people are still killing them. It doesn't matter. They do it all the time. So the result is, if we have evidence that someone has point blank killed someone and we don't try that, and we don't find them guilty, there's effects of that. We see that when the police are not found guilty for killing Black folks. Black folks within the community recognize that, and they're like, okay, this is a serious societal issue. This is a social construct, right? Now, if that guy Murdoch killed his wife and his kid and wasn't found guilty, and it was clear the evidence stacks up against him, what's to say other people are not going to follow suit and that it'll become more of the norm? That's my point when it comes to the news. In addition, I get the whole, I think the news and the government, like you said, was conflated. You brought up the war on terror as an example. And Colin Powell definitely lied under oath. We know that. We went to war. But when it was discovered that he lied, news outlets reported on the said lie. They didn't continue to push, there were weapons of mass destruction. Colin Powell never lied. That's the point of the news. The news is supposed to be a way of checks and balances. I know that they don't always do it. I know that there's spin. I have an entire portion of our program dedicated to politics as usual, where I call out how fucked up a lot of this system actually is. So no, I disagree with this lovely caller who's saying that this will make me lose faith in democracy, because I'm already very clear that democracy is wildly flawed. I, again, point that out on many episodes. It doesn't mean that I don't recognize that my lights, my water, all of this shit still, my lights turn on when I hit the light switch. My water runs when I turn on the spigot. Part of that is because of the system that we have in place. While it's deeply flawed, we as Americans talk like we know what it is to live in a completely non-democratic system. And we don't. We don't know what that is, to just live in utter chaos. We know what it is to live in a very broken system, and we deal with it every day. But I am in no way thinking that democracy works as it is intended, especially within this country. I'm in no way thinking that the media does not have an agenda. Of course, what I'm saying is, if we don't have standards, if we disregard the law, then we have no basis to fight against this shit. That's why it's monumental.
That's a whole other conversation, because I don't
You have
understand.
rules in your house for Joe, right?
I don't understand.
I'm trying to explain it. You have rules in your house for Joe, right? She probably breaks the rules. It doesn't mean you don't still have rules that she has to abide by.
Right. But
so the same way, if Fox News is not told you have to abide by these rules when the evidence is so clear that they broke the law, then no one has to do anything.
Defamation is hard to prove, so they may find a way to get out of that. That's different than like somebody shoots somebody and we see him.
Right, but we went over last week how much evidence is stacked up against them.
Still, it could be a chance that they get away, and just like you said, there's a lot of things at risk there. I don't know if this case can support this idea of people's faith in the government and democracy being eroded. And I don't think that the case of like, the case that, you know, people losing faith in democracy, or the idea that people have things in which they feel like they can't trust the government, they can't trust the news. And then to say like, oh, but if you didn't have running water, it feels like a mother-child relationship where you're dependent on your mother. That's all you know. The culture that she's raised you in is all you know, but she's abusive, right? And as you get older and you realize like, yo, this pattern that we're in, something isn't right. Something's got to change. And then she says, it feels defensive and dismissive to be like, but you wouldn't be here if
that's
you
not what I said.
on me. That's what it sounds like.
I'm telling you, that's not what I said, though. What I'm saying is, I'm just saying that there are checks and balances in place so that
that's my thing.
Yes, because listen,
small people,
the government doesn't work, but there are people who live in housing that the government helps support them. This is and the government, there are certain things that work do function. This is not about the government. I'm literally saying that the shit is flawed. I swear to God, I know that. I swear I know that. What I'm saying is, I'm not conflating the government with this news thing. I'm addressing the young lady who called and said this is a reflection on how I would view democracy. That's why I even brought that up. I'm clear that democracy is seriously flawed in this country. I'm so clear about it. I'm also really clear that it's not non-existent. There are some systems with some checks and balances. If there weren't, then it would be complete and utter anarchy. And we don't, as Americans, there is a privilege here that we don't have to deal with certain shit that other countries have to deal with. That's just a reality. It does not mean that we don't have so much fucking work to do, that we're not completely, what is the word that I'm looking for? Victims of a system that is stacked against us. I talk about it all the time. I completely get it. I'm not trying to be dismissive of that at all. What I'm saying is I don't have this romanticized relationship with American democracy. I promise you I don't. That's what I'm saying. I recognize that I have privilege here due to that system, as fucked up as it is. Mom is keeping the fucking lights on, but that don't mean she's fucking right. That's my viewpoint on this system. It's like, no, we need to hold mom accountable. I'm never trying to dismiss that. And I get frustrated because I'm not explaining it well, obviously, because it's coming across as dismissive. But that's truly how I feel. Clear.
I guess my thing is the fear of this system crumbling. Mm-hmm. And if the risk of what we know and the infrastructure of what we know has to crumble in order for something else to be rebuilt, and the idea that anarchy is the loss of this structure is complete chaos, is giving a disservice to anarchy theories, period, first of all, and is not the only alternative and possibility that we have if this democracy is going to crumble. Like, why this shit is going to crumble anyway, because it's not sustainable, it's self-destructive, and it's violent. With the lights on. You can have the lights
shit.
on and the fucking house is falling off, crumbling down, on fire. But the lights work, the faucet comes on. But this is another conversation.
Yeah, it is. I think
it's a whole other conversation. But we just talked about anarchy. I just want to say this. The idea, like, I think it's propaganda that people talk about anarchy as this, like, people with masks and it's nothing's, it's just complete chaos and there's no order. I feel like anarchist theory in religion and socially and politically is the idea that we can govern ourselves. The idea of a state is not needed and is inherently oppressive, and that we don't need it. And we can govern ourselves.
Anarchy that I'm referring to. I'm referring to anarchy as the definition of it, which is the state of disorder due to the absence or non-recognition of authority. I'm not saying that we have to have the authorities in place. I'm literally using the word as it's defined. I'm not talking about anarchist theory. But I hope I made myself more clear. Hopefully. But in the meantime, in between time, let's take a break. Thank you for these calls. Shanti, I always think these are good conversations between us because we do just have, I don't think our viewpoints are that different. I really don't. But I
really just don't have any faith in democracy. I mean, I can, and I think you're like, but that's the thing, that's a privileged place to say. And perhaps it is, but I really think that this is beyond a space of reconciling shit. If we continue with our democracy and money being so deeply connected, until that shit is separated, I think it's not sustainable no matter how long we try.
I don't disagree. All I'm saying is that none of us know what it is to live in spaces that have that literally where this shit is non-existent, where these rights that we have are non-existent. Mm-hmm. We don't know. And I do think that is a bit of American privilege, because we don't know. We don't have any way to, we don't have a way to really compare and put ourselves in those shoes. As awful as this country is to Black and brown folks, I look at other places and I'm like, fuck, we have no clue. And it's, I still think, I agree with you 100%. I don't think it's sustainable the way we're going. So anyway, let's take a break.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Boop. We didn't even say who we were going to have on.
But tell Monty to run that shit back. Monty, we made a mistake. Go ahead.
Monty, we made a mistake. Anyway, let's take a break. No, that wasn't the tone that I had. Ready, Monty? Anyway, let's take a break. After these messages, you're going to sing for us. But we do have a very special guest, Dar, a friend of mine, who is going to join us and talk to us. This is what you've all requested now. He's going to talk to us about polyamory, ethical polyamory, non-ethical polyamory, keeping each other sexually safe. Are there partners that we favor? Are there partners that we nest with? I don't know. We'll find out. Shanti?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Boop. And we are back. And as promised, we are joined by a very fancy guest who I'm very excited. Now y'all have asked for this. Y'all keep calling in like, I think that you should talk about polyamory. And we're like, yeah. But we are not experts. We don't know what we're talking about, really. We're curious. we are, well, I think one of us was open, a little bit open to it. I don't know if that person is still, but we'll find out. But we are joined by a friend of mine, Dar. Dar is first and foremost a very worthy human being.
Yes,
And-
amen, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And he's someone whose very existence confronts the bounds of normalcy and respectability. But he is also, more formally, a Jamaican-born actor, equity and relational strategist, DE&I thought leader, speaker, and creative director and founder of Bononones. And hello, friend. How
Hello,
are
friend.
you?
Welcome,
I'm well.
welcome.
Thank you for having me here. That was lovely.
That was
Was
very
it?
beautiful.
I usually don't intro people because I like for them to tell us who they are. And I should ask, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
He, him.
That
All right.
nigga.
Shout out. You said that. Let's get into it. So I'm very grateful that you're joining us. Folks, a while back, I talked about going to polyamorous game night, Bononones, and I gave the folks a little bit of information about it, but I'd love for you to tell us what that is, what need it fills, and why you founded it.
Yeah. So, first of all, just, really happy to be here. Also, yeah, I adore you. And Shanti, it's really good to meet you as well. So, Bononones, it's been a journey. Like, it started off as something else entirely. I was living in Mexico City at the time with a really good friend and roommate. And while there, we were hosting people in our home, throwing sort of impromptu game nights, hosting dinners, brunches, and it was really special. We were doing this a lot for other Black immigrants like ourselves who had left the United States, London, Canada, all over, and had gone to Mexico, kind of finding a new type of freedom, building community. And it was really special. It was really beautiful. Left Mexico in 2021, 2022, really, and wanted to continue bringing that energy. Wanted to host trips. I'd taken a group of folks to Oaxaca during Dia de los Muertos, and that was kind of like the first time that we took this energy to a different part of Mexico where it was really sexy, it was really fun, it was a lot of cultural immersion, it was also a lot of play, both in the sort of like sexy sense and also just the liberatory sense of just having fun. And so at the time, it was existing under a different name, but then once coming to the States and wanting to do something a little bit more formal with another friend of mine who's based out in LA, I made the decision that it was going to be something else to kind of separate it from what my friend had claimed she was doing in Mexico and the name that she wanted to kind of own. And Bononones came out of it for me thinking about, what does this group need to represent? What is it that I care about? I care very much about play. I care very much about liberation. I care very much about community. And the name itself is just it's really fun. Bononones is it's patois for like a special friend or a really, really good ting. And it's fun to say. It just feels good on the lips. And I like that it feels almost extra because I think that oftentimes like folks who think about polyamory or think about the abundance, it is extra, and that's a good thing. So that's what the name came from, or that's how it came to be. And then game night is kind of is just one of the ways that we bring this community together. Game night is a place to literally play, be that Uno, be that whatever, but it's also a time to feel kind of sexy. There's also like sexy games. There's sexy like strip Jenga. There are also much more sexy games that we didn't get into the night that you came.
I was about to say, I didn't play this strip Jenga now.
Yeah. We didn't get into all that, but I think that's one of the things of like a lot of play parties will have events that are centered around some form of a game night, where again it's like helping people to understand or kind of liberate the sense of feeling like sex is just like either exclusively a transactional act, or it is just something that is like it's like a very serious thing. For you, I hope that like, even though I know you were feeling kind of salty about some of the ways that the games were going, like they were
My competitive spirit came out. I won that one game though.
Yeah.
Wait, do you really think I didn't?
No,
last one?
Oh no, you won that. Oh,
I was about to say.
Yeah. No, the other ones were you.
The music one.
Yes, exactly.
That was upsetting.
So it's like there's a lot of this competitive spirit, but really it's just like I think what's beautiful about how game nights are oftentimes part of like play spaces and play communities is because again, sex can be play. Sex can be pleasurable. It should be pleasurable, first of all, and it should be fun. You should be able to laugh with people that you're having sex with or that you're playing with. You should be able to smile and enjoy, and that can be with one other person, that can be with a group of people. But I think that games especially kind of remind us that even as we get older, like play is still very much at the heart of some of the ways that we build intimacy with other people from when we were really young to as we get older, and kind of tapping back into that, especially as Black people, when so many of us have been adulterized like so much sooner in life. This is kind of like a reclamation of that play aspect.
That is so perfect because literally tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, we're recording this on the 15th. On the 16th, one of the episodes that comes out is all about where is the wander.
Yeah.
And so I've really been, I've been reading this here Flesh, which that's all I keep talking about. It's so good. You should get it.
I'm adding it to my list right now.
Yeah. But there's a chapter on wonder, and I realized that I don't have a lot of wonder and awe that I'm practicing actively, and play is something that Shanti and I talk about a lot. And I just want to say, when I was at the Bonanones game night, a friend of mine invited me, and I didn't read it. And I showed up and was like, oh, all right, this is energy. And so I sat next to Nana and was like, what's going on here? And she was like, did you read it? And I was like, oh, okay, word, cool. And I remember thinking, these people feel really familiar. These people feel really open. They feel really safe. They feel friendly. I didn't feel like I had to put on any airs. I wasn't nervous at all. Like as soon as I got there, I'm yelling about, they don't know what they're talking about in terms of like the music game that we were playing. They kept picking Michael Jackson for everything, Shanti. It was so annoying. It's so like old school this, and then they put on Michael Jackson. I'm like, do you know anybody else to play? But anyway, that's beside the point.
Ready
but it was
fight.
Right. It was a really beautiful space. And I do remember one person talking about how they hadn't experienced a certain intimacy that they wanted. And it wasn't necessarily sexual, but it was just intimacy and love and care in a physical way. And I remember someone else saying, is that something you'd like to experience as an offering? And in any other space, I might have been like, yo, chill out. This is a lot. You're doing a lot. Like, of course, that's your in. But in that space, I really felt like it was centered in, oh, you deserve that. And I want to give kudos to you because you very intentionally would remind people and literally say, you're worthy. After we would share something, Shanti, Dar would say, you're worthy and thank you. And so it was just like, it was this affirming space. And so that's why I was like, he's a worthy human being. I wanted to add that. But polyamory, right?
Yeah.
Let's get into it because, of course, it's stigmatized. Of course, everybody has so many questions or don't have questions. They block themselves from it completely. How did polyamory come into your life? And then also, how do you practice it? Because there's not a one size fit all at all. I think that's the point of polyamory, to be completely honest. So, yeah. If you're interested in sharing.
What if I was just like, no?
I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, right. No, there's so many things. So I want to like backtrack real fast. I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful that the experience that you had is the experience that you had as someone who, one, didn't read, and it's okay because I know that niggas don't read, and that's fine.
Yeah, super trash for that. Trash.
But it's okay, like, because again, I think I said it that night too. Like, I I've hosted a couple of those events already. And one of the things that I continue to remind folks, either who've been there multiple times or who are there for the first time, as I say this directly, I'm just like, yo, please act like you've been here before. This is a home, and this is my home, but it's a home that I'm opening up to you. And because you are here by virtue of it, it is also a place where you are welcome. You've been in a home before, so treat this like your own. Treat this like a space where you belong, because you do belong here. So the fact that you were already feeling that sense of familiarity, yo, that's like, that's the whole thing, yo. Like that's the fucking point, is that like you should be able to drop in. I remember, I think it was your friend who was just like, yo, I thought everybody in here knew each other from way back when. And it's like, nah, a lot of people met each other that same night, you included, right? So that's really the energy that I want to continue to cultivate. And when I think about the types of communities that I either want to be a part of, or the communities that I want to help foster and curate, that is the energy that I want to make sure is always at the center of that. And then you mentioned friendliness. Yeah, like Bunanunas is a collective of polyamorous, friendly Black hotties. That is what we are. That is the energy that we are bringing. So if you're getting friendliness, good. Like, then I'm doing something right, and we're doing something right.
You absolutely are.
And so polyamory. So for me, it is interesting. My journey, my experience with polyamory has been a long one, I'd say. Like, I would say that my first experience with it was back in like 2016, where I was dating someone who I had matched with on Tinder. And I remember at the time, I knew that I wanted to be dating this person, but I also wanted to be dating other people. And so that was my first time communicating that very explicitly to another person. And they responded like, okay, we can be polyamorous. I know what the fuck that was, but I was just like, cool, like we can keep fucking, and like we can fuck other people. Like, bet. That sounds amazing. But there was a lot of ego involved, and a lot of fuck shit, like from self included, where it was just trying to, not recognizing that there was still very much like a commitment to communication, a commitment to like this other person. I was treating it like we were still just like fucking around, like we were just like casually seeing each other, as opposed to what it was that I know that I felt, but I was not really accepting, and what this other person felt. But again, egos were really starting to clash. That ended, and I was kind of just like, yeah, like this poly thing isn't for me. Started dating someone new, and a month into our relationship, she's like, yo, I can't do this. And I was confused. I didn't know what she meant. And she clarified, and she said, this monogamy. I can't do this monogamy thing. I was like, okay. I didn't think that this is what I didn't think non-monogamy was for me, but we tried it. And for the next 4 years, we did a quasi-open relationship where we would open and close it over the course of those 4 years. And I think that was a really interesting experience for me to learn about, like, how do I communicate with another person? How do I communicate my wants, my needs? How do we talk about boundaries? How do I talk about my desires, especially things that maybe don't feel good to this other person, but I know are things that are meaningful for me, or the things that make me feel good. But it's only within the past, I would say, year and a half that I feel like I have been doing this poly thing in the way that I feel most secure, that I feel most ethical, that I feel most grounded in, because I think that a lot of niggas will say that they are polyamorous but really they're just like fucking around. And it's like, I think that's a lot of people's stories as far as like how they get to polyamory. Unfortunately, it's a lot of heartbreak. It's a lot of hurt. It's a lot of unethical behavior. And then ultimately, hopefully, people kind of figure out that like, yo, this is inherently ethical. This is inherently like beautiful. This is inherently rooted in commitment and care and transparency and trust and all of the ingredients that Bell Hooks talks about love being. So so within the past year and a half now, I have been really on this poly shit. But for me, I think it also has led to a defining of what polyamory means for me. I see polyamory very much as both a love style as well as a lifestyle and like relationship status. So like I identify as a polyamorous person, where even if I'm only dating, one person, or if I only have one person who is my partner, I know that I'm still polyamorous. Like my love is abundant, like the way that I think about love is abundant, the way that I think about how I communicate and what love means to me and what I hope it means to other people is still very much through a polyamorous lens. And there is also the polyamorous relationship status where like that's the umbrella for a lot of different terminologies that people might be in. So somebody could be a monogamous person who might be in a polyamorous relationship dynamic, but they are still very much monogamous. And so I think that that's one of the other beautiful things for me about how I think about it for myself and for other people, or what I hope other people do to think about it for themselves, if they're contemplating it or if they're embracing it in whatever way feels good for them.
You can be monogamous.
Yeah.
Be participating in a polyamorous relationship at the same time.
Facts.
You just have, you have this strict connection between another person, but you know that they are in fact seeing someone else.
Yeah, because
It's still considered monogamy.
Well, see, this is where I think it gets kind of interesting when I talk to people, or when people want to talk to me about polyamory, when they are like, I'm very monogamous, and I'm just like, okay, what does that mean for you? And oftentimes what I hear is like, someone will say like, oh, I could be polyamorous, or I could, be out here like maybe dating other people, but the second my partner wants to do that, ain't no fucking way. And I'm just like, that's really interesting to me, because it sounds like the way that you view your relationship status is not so much about what it is that you desire, but it's more so about the rules that you want to put on this other person. So it's like, as a monogamous person, it's just like in a polyamorous dynamic, it's like, yeah, you can be monogamous. I know that I only want to be with one person. That is the way that I want my relationship to look between me to this person. And that person could be dating other people, but that doesn't change the fact that you are dating this one person. But if you also want that other person to be monogamous with you, then that's a different sort of conversation. But that's how I see how a monogamous person could be in a polyamorous dynamic and still be a monogamous person.
Do you have a follow-up for that?
Yeah,
Shanti?
it makes a lot of sense.
What is ethical behavior?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
That's what I was going to
That
ask.
was
What
it?
are these?
Okay.
What is the defining difference between being messy and then being ethical, but still having this openness?
Yeah, I think again that's where it can sometimes feel a little bit tricky, because it's like it can be a bit gray. But the grayness is really just like, what are you consenting to and what are you agreeing to with the other people? I think where the messiness comes in is that people are lying. People are being dishonest. They're being they're obfuscating the truth intentionally, right? Polyamory is like, again, even within its different flavors and whatever, it's still rooted in trust and communication. You're still talking about things, or agreeing that you're not talking about very specific things. But there still has to be some sort of consent that is affirmative by the people who are involved in this thing. It's where I joke, and I was saying this, I don't think this got added into the BET thing that I did a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about
I didn't find that. I couldn't find it.
Oh,
Plug it, please.
I'll plug it. So BET and CBS News did a round table talking about Black love and marriage in America. And one of the things that came up during the round table that didn't air, but might air in an extended cut, was people saying like, yeah, like it's like, I want to be with someone, or I want to get married to someone, but if they're going to cheat on me, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, like I feel like a lot of people find themselves in non-monogamous relationships, even if they don't know.
Child.
But like, say again?
Yes.
He said, "Child."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
I've been in many. Every relationship has been polyamorous.
Yeah. Oh.
I didn't know.
No, you were monogamous.
I didn't know, but
You were monogamous,
everyone was.
They're all non-monogamous, but this is where I think like I think in a certain respect there's some value in gatekeeping polyamory, where it's like, look, yo, like this shit is rooted in ethical behavior. Mind you, there are a bunch of unethical niggas that are practicing polyamory. Like polyamory is not like the savior of shit. And I think that's where a lot of like polyamorous people sometimes get on this high horse, where it's just like, oh, if you're not polyamorous, you're not as like evolved or like all this other bullshit. It's like, no, you got very unethical niggas that are doing polyamory as well. Also do it like not actually doing polyamory, but like claiming that it is polyamory. that's fucking tough. But in the same way that you got niggas claiming that they're doing monogamy and are not doing it ethically, not actually doing monogamy, they are cheating on their partners, or they have like other situationships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like, as far as how do you do this shit ethically, again, I got to talk to people. I got to find out what is it that they are on board for, what are they not on board for. I subscribe to the acronym RBDSM when it comes to how I am engaging in certain conversations. RBDSM came from, it's like a framework of how to talk about or how to engage with someone in a play space, specifically, or around like BDSM. R stands for relationship status, B stands for boundaries, D stands for desires, S stands for sexual safety, and then M stands for meaning/aftercare. And so each one of those letters has with it a series of questions. So like R, are you in a relationship? Is there someone that would have a right to feel a type of way about us having sex or us dating? Boundaries, what are you not okay with? What do you not want to have happen either when we're having sex or in the course of this relationship? Desires, what do you want to have happen? Like, what are you excited for? What do you want me to do to you? What do you want to do to me, with me? Sexual safety, like, when's the last time you got tested? Do you know the sexual status of the other people that you're fucking? A lot of people do not. A lot of people get kind of like nervous when they have to start talking about that shit. I think that for a lot of polyamorous people, that shit is super normalized. And I think that's really beautiful. Where again, it is a reminder that my sexual safety is my responsibility. And I get to bring that to this dynamic with another person and invite this other person to do the same. And then meaning/aftercare. And what do you want this to mean? Do you want this to be a one-night stand? Do you want this to be friends with benefits? Are you looking for a partner? Are you open to partnership? What is the configurations of your relationships as they exist right now? And then aftercare, what do you need in order to feel cared for after we've like done the nasty or done the, the sexy? Do you need to cuddle? Do you want to talk about how that was for you? Do you need me to remind you to pee? Like, what is it that you need? And let's talk about all of it. Everything is a conversation. And I think that's really the beauty of what polyamory has done for me. I've always wanted to have conversations about so many things. There is very little that I consider TMI because everything can and should be a conversation.
So you mentioned bell hooks.
I did.
And so this lifestyle, these experiences that you're having, in what ways have you grown and had to recondition yourself as a Black cishet? I'm assuming, I'm sorry, man, like what have you confronted that you're like, oh shit, I was completely wrong, or this is really difficult for me, or you feel uncomfortable in terms of like power, if that is something that you've dealt with or deal with now?
I think it's something that the same way that we think about healing as one is a nonlinear journey and also a journey that's never really over. I think about what polyamory and kind of like my liberation or my quest for liberation has done for me, a la reading bell hooks, All About Love, The Will to Change, even going so far as like reading like Esther Perel's like books as well. Like I have done and continue to do so much interrogating about what does it mean for me to be a man existing in patriarchy, albeit a Black man existing in patriarchy and white supremacy, and what are the ways in which that I can continue to, or at least in when I first started this journey, how can I start to and then continue to betray patriarchy on the daily? A good brother of mine, Josh Odom, Healing While Black. He's one of a good brother who I used to do this service called Bearded Black Men Reading to You Before Bedtime, where where we would just read.
Fuck that white lady reading to you, bro.
I have been talking about wanting to be read to. There's a white woman reading Homegoing to me right now on YouTube.
Interesting.
She tearing it up.
Is she?
Fucking these names up. She's like, yeah, I see. I said, okay.
Okay.
Oh, queen. My
okay.
white queen. But go ahead. Anyway.
Yeah. So we used to do this. This was something that we, I'm bringing it up just because like that was something that I felt was really special to be doing with a bunch of brothers, where we were reading to mostly black femmes, but we were that was we would have like hundreds of people in a room. This was on Clubhouse where we were doing this for a while, where mostly femmes would come on stage and they would ask us to read maybe the lyrics to like a Giveon song, or my specialty was I would just read recipes, like literal recipes, but in a deep, sultry tone and voice. And let me tell you, the way that I say whisk or butter is...
You gotta charge for this shit.
Yeah, we did. But like at the time, we just requested folks, if they had love offerings, they would like provide that to us, and it was really special. But we also heard a lot of these folks who were a part of these rooms tell us that this was the first time that they had heard Black men telling them things like what we were saying to them, telling them that they were worthy, telling them that they deserve whatever love it is that they want to have. And that is one of the things that, for me, connected to my polyamory, but also I think just the types of men that I'm surrounding myself or choosing to surround myself with who also want to betray patriarchy. It was Josh who gave me the language where we were in a conversation about feminism, and the question was asked, can men be feminists? And there was all of this sort of like going back and forth and pontification. And then Josh kind of jumped in. He was just like, yo, like, I don't really feel like it's necessary for me to identify as a feminist. I don't think that's actually the point of this. Really what's more important is for me as a man in a patriarchal system that benefits men is how can I be a betrayer? How can I betray patriarchy on the daily? That is what my charge can be as someone who wants to unlearn white supremacy, who wants to unlearn internalized anti-Blackness, wants to unlearn misogyny and misogynoir. I don't need to take on a label, especially one that shouldn't even be administered anyways. But it's something that I can be doing. These are the actions that I can be doing. So for me, when I think about polyamory, when I think about my relationship dynamics, it's the same thing. I'm thinking about what are the power dynamics that exist in these situations or in the relationships that I'm in. There's like check-ins that are involved, making sure that there's still equity, while also acknowledging that, and sometimes in more like kink dynamics, the desire is for there to be a power dynamic where I'm daddy. And what does that mean for me as someone who also wants to make sure that I am still being absolutely respectful? Like that is still the foundation of this. And I think that for a lot of people, it's where, you know how some people, when they say that they want to be in a casual relationship, for whatever reason, respect goes out the window. I think that with like, when people think about kink, or when they think about like daddy or like dom and sub or whatever, they're thinking like, oh, like the dom must just kind of like do whatever the fuck they want to do. And it's like, no, this shit is rooted in respect. It's rooted in agreements. It's rooted in consent. It's rooted in what people want, and communicating that, and also having the power and freedom to change their mind whenever the fuck they want, and that being okay.
Can I ask you, do you think then, because I have so many follow-up questions, but do you think that, I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't seem judgmental, but I feel that there might be a lack of cis hetero men who want to betray the patriarchy, who have read A Will to Change, who want to read A Will to Change, who want to read All About Love, who want to talk about it, who want to ask these questions about care, who want to have honest conversations. Do you think that because of my perceived lack as a woman who dates men, that adds to the need for polyamory?
I don't know.
Because that's what some people will say. I'll say this.
Yeah.
I was dealing with someone
Yeah, tell me, give me the tea. Yeah.
In my younger years, right, who did not, I don't think, used his powers for good. I was in a polyamorous dynamic with that. Look at Shanti's face. She said,
non-monogamous.
Where,
yeah.
It was fuck shit. It was fuck shit that he tried to rationalize.
He was much older than me, and he was dancing circles around what my 20-something-year-old brain could keep up with, right? And so I found myself in this dynamic where I was being told, well, there aren't many people like me, so I have to care for all of these women. I have to, and you need to understand that that's what's necessary. And what I find is, I don't mean to toot my own horn now, but I've been invited in a lot of polyamorous relationships now, especially as of recent. And some of them are not fuck shit. Some of them, I think, are completely ethical and they're great people. But some folks are just talking that shit, that hotep shit. They can get you caught up real quick.
Yeah.
Right?
That was all Kangs.
Yeah, and I hear women that I personally know rationalize things in this way of like, well, we're at the point where we have to start sharing because the quality is there's such a lack of quality.
That's so sad. And so it's really disappointing because again, like that makes me really scary because I would still tell those people like, yo, stay the fuck away from polyamory because again, this is about doing what you want. You have to consent to this shit. If you are doing shit that you don't want, that's scary. That's not hot or sexy or safe for anyone. Like, please do not do that. Like, I've experienced like deep heartbreak because of people who don't want to be polyamorous. They just want to date me. And then like that shit just completely implodes. Or like in my past where I was just like, you know what? I can be monogamous. But it's like, no, I don't actually want to be. And now everybody is sad and hurt. And that was like part of my journey to recognizing, yo, I get to say, this is what I want and communicate that to people. And the people who are for me and the people who are not. And that is okay. That is very much okay. And actually that should just be the way that it is. So when people say it's just like, oh, I guess I'll just be polyamorous because the quality of whatever, it's just like, nah, beloved, please don't settle in that way. You can find exactly what it is that you want. If you want a very healthy and ethical monogamous relationship, then there is someone out there. There are multiple someones out there who would want that for you. And if you want to choose one of them, go for it. But please don't just like join somebody else's thing because you're just like sad or tired, because now you're bringing that to somebody else's dynamic where like all they're doing
dishonest.
It's dishonest. And that's not what any relationship should be based on.
You hear that, y'all? You hear it?
But it's true. It's true. And it's just like, and so going back to your point about like how many men are not choosing to read these books. Look, I love Auntie Belle, and I read, her books, and she also has like some controversial like ways of writing and controversial opinions. What I tell people is to take the good and leave the pieces that maybe are not quite as relevant or salient right now. But so much of it, I think, so much of it at least provokes us to think differently about the way that we show up in relationships. But I think that for a lot of us men, we exist in a system that quote unquote rewards us for subscribing to patriarchy. But for black men, we think that we are going to get liberation by trying to be white. An old friend of mine, Raven Rodriguez, like she would say this all the time. She's like, niggas don't want to be free. They want to be white. And that is so fucking problematic. It is so problematic because that's what we see time and time again, where it's just like niggas are fighting for the scraps and crumbs to be oppressors, as opposed to just actually being free.
That's what I feel about Chris Rock, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, talk about it.
That's
talk
a whole
about
other
it.
Story.
Yeah, that nigga wants to like make white people laugh at the expense of like black people. It's just like my man's, yo. Like that doesn't look like liberation to me. That's not the type of liberation that I seek. And that's the type of liberation that I see a lot of my brothers seeking out. And that's just weird to me because that shit has never been our liberation.
Yeah.
And I would also say that this is where as a community, we also gotta hold each one of us accountable, because I also think that for a lot of men who may want to explore tenderness and vulnerability through bell hooks or other avenues, we do not always find ourselves affirmed if we are dating women by the women in our lives who we want to be tender and vulnerable with, because it is not just men that can be agents of patriarchy, as bell hooks also talks about.
Girl, listen, not girl. I'm looking at Shanti. I'm used to saying girl on here. But child, we talk about that quite a bit as well, how much women uphold the patriarchy. Shanti, I want to let you in. I do want to ask, though, for our listeners, Dar, what does 2 weeks of your polyamorous lifestyle look like? You know, like how does it work? Do you go on multiple dates? Do they know each other? Do you ever intermingle together? How do you keep each other sexually safe? Because I think there's a safety in monogamy that I find, or that I think I find. You heard me? I think I find, because child, it's gotten tricky. But in my mind, if it's practiced ethically, then there's a certain safety there that I find myself being more comfortable in. But
Yeah.
I think people are really interested in the lifestyle, what it looks like what is
Question.
instead of a day of, let's give 2 weeks, because child, a day,
Yeah.
I don't know how you roll, but
Yeah.
what is it? How do you operate?
Yeah, that's
Do you have a primary partner, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I'll try to answer this in a few ways. So I would also just disclaimer to you and your listeners, I should not be used as the standard by like how most polyamorous people live their lives. Like I'd be outside. Like that's just like that's who I am. And I'm a communal ass, tender ass nigga. So like I am just like I'm very mixy as well. Like in the sense that it's like I love to be around my friends. I love to be in community. So take that with a grain of salt. But it's also, I don't know, in my I see it as kind of boring or just really like normal. Like so 2 weeks in the life of me can look like, you know, on most days, it's kind of just like checking in with. I have someone who is my partner. She's the only person who I consider my partner right now. And then I'm dating other people at different depths of intimacy. So it's like checking in, right? Like good mornings. I think that's one of the best parts about polyamory is like multiple good morning texts, multiple like, hey, how you doing, beautiful, like multiple affirmations. And then maybe it's seeing my partner for dinner, or truly just hanging out like on the couch, or maybe she'll paint my nails or something, or like take out these twists for me on another night. And then in the morning, we'll go to the gym together. Going to the gym is very much a love ritual for me and people who I'm dating. I love being in movement. It's something that I really enjoy that we get to do together. It's something that I love doing with lovers and comrades alike. So going to the gym, both for myself, both with friends, both with lovers and my partner. I'm dating someone right now where every Thursday we go to the gym together. That's been something that's been really special. We might have a date night. It was her birthday last week, and so I was there meeting some of her friends, one of her friends who is also polyamorous, but lives like in between LA and Berlin because she has partners in both, or they have partners in both places. It's maybe going to a play party on a Saturday night, or just going and hanging out with my friends and going out, and that being a thing. Maybe going on a date with someone new, or maybe it's a second date with someone who I'm still getting to know. But for me, I also don't want to get to a place where I'm feeling polysaturated. Polysaturated just means like I have too many dynamics than I can really, care for in a way that feels intentional. So I feel really good about like where I'm at right now, like between having people who are in close proximity physically to me here in New York, having comment lovers who live in LA who I check in with every so often. One of whom is coming to visit New York next week, and that's going to be the first time that we're seeing each other in like, actually the first time that we're seeing each other in person ever. But we have but we've talked, for the past like 2 years, FaceTime, et cetera, all the things. It just developed like such deep intimacy. Another comment lover who I met for the first time when I was in Mexico like 2 years ago. Like I think like for me, what polyamory, or at least this level.
He said, it's 8:46 now. Let's go.
He said, we gotta go.
Sorry, we'll wrap it up in a bit.
Hold on, Milo, come here. I'm dog sitting. This is actually pretty funny. So this is also what polyamory looks like. I'm dog sitting right now for my partner's former nesting partner. So this is Milo.
What is a nesting partner?
Nesting partner is a partner who you live with or who like a lot of your worlds are kind of interconnected. So they used to live together. He and I are friends. He's a part of my Bonanonis community, and he was going out of town. He's out of town right now, and he asked me if I could dog sit for him. So yeah, this is Milo.
All right, so you just said you're dog sitting for your partner's former nesting partner.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about jealousy.
Get into it.
All right, because immediately I got tight because my ego is ridiculous now.
Oh.
So jealousy is a thing in polyamory.
Yeah.
No? Yes?
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
course. It's a thing in humans.
Yeah, period.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that within polyamory, you actually talk about it. You address it.
Yeah, or at least you should be able to. You should feel safe doing that. Yeah.
And so how do you manage it?
The way that I try to talk about it with my partner, I'll just say partners, like for all intents and purposes right now, is I try to be clear on what it is that I'm feeling first and foremost before I just try to dump my jealousy on another person. I think what happens a lot of the time when people talk about jealousy or from a place of jealousy is that it is easy to inadvertently make someone else feel like they have done something wrong when really it's something that I am feeling and that I need to deal with and I need to understand what's happening for me. So I try to do that as much as possible first and then come to this other person with, yo, this thing that you did or this thing that happened made me feel this type of way. It didn't feel good. I recognize that this is where this shit is coming from. And I'm wondering if we can acknowledge it, one, so that I don't feel crazy, and two, like what it is that we can do about it. This is maybe what I feel like would make me feel special in another way or to help me sort of like deal with this. Is this something that you're on board with or not, right? It's again, we're having new agreement conversations. And it's also possible that my partner could say like, yeah, look, like that is not the labor that I want to do. And then that would lead us in a completely different direction. I think that would be really shitty if a partner was just like, yeah, I'm just not going to do like labor to like around like this thing that I did that made you feel this type of way. But I think at the very least, if I'm in partnership with someone, I'm wanting to try to get to a place of understanding, and hopefully they'll also understand me so that we can be on a similar page about what it is that's happening and what it is that's going to happen going forward.
Dope.
Yeah.
Shanti?
But hold on, tell me what when you say like your ego or your jealousy thing, like what do you mean by that? What's like flare it? Like,
I'm anxious attachment, so I got work to do, honey. I'm fucked up.
Throwing out the words. What does anxious attachment mean?
You took the attachment quiz.
I know, but
didn't
for
you,
people
child?
that don't know what that means, what does that mean for people?
We're not talking about me. I am someone who, well, at least I've been out of practice. I hope I'm not still anxious attachment. I'll say that. I took the quiz years ago, and I still have it on my damn desktop, the results. But basically, attachment theory. I'm opening it up right. That's a shame. It's right here from ages. But, yeah. I want to read that because I'll fuck it up. Because anyway, I can't find it and I'm getting anxiety. Anxious attachment is basically where I'm scared of abandonment. And so I cling. I get anxious if I feel my partner moving away from me. And I'm like, okay, what can I do? How can I show up? How can I prove to them that I'm it? And then they're like, most times I'm with someone who is, what is the word for that? Avoidant. And they're like, yo, you gotta chill. I need I don't want to deal with this. This is a bit much. I need space. And the more space they need, the more I cling. The more I cling, the more they move away. And this vicious cycle. That's usually where I find myself. But I've been out of practice. I'm hoping that the work that I've done will make me a little less anxious and a little more less clinically insane.
Love you.
So here we are. Shanti, do you have any other questions?
I just have, thank you for sharing everything. I think what I love the most is the idea of abundance and the idea that there's a lot to go around and nothing's being lost. I also, the idea of hierarchy, you didn't talk about it here, and I don't know if this is part of your theory, but the idea that one relationship doesn't necessarily take precedent or is more important or more sacred than another relationship. And I like that idea. I struggle in a lot of ways because I have a daughter. I have a 12-year-old daughter. So this idea, like, I was like, yo, if I didn't have a kid, I'd be out here just tasting the rainbow, dipping and dabbling. But I feel there's a level of commitment that I desire deeply, that I understand only through like a traditional monogamous relationship, also very much conditioned by what I think a male's role is. So, you know, it's just interesting to see how other folks are living and what's possible and how we limit ourselves in a lot of ways by these ideas that we cling to, often founded on this idea that there isn't enough and you're not going to be taken care of, and you know, you're going to fuck somebody up, or yeah. So this is, it's music to my ears, and also just makes me feel all of the things in a lot of ways. But thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're worthy. I think what comes up.
I love it. You're worthy. Stop joking. Love yourself.
It's true. Because it's like, I think about that word, right? Like, you know, commitment, and how oftentimes I feel like it only gets talked about through the lens of monogamy, where it's like, for me, I hope that if and when I have kids, that they will that there will be multiple someones who are deeply committed to that human being. And so like when I say like you're worthy, you are, one, and two, it's just like, yeah, if you want to be tasting the rainbow and have like multiple colors of that rainbow, also deeply committed to your daughter, I think you are worthy of having that. I think you are worthy of having multiple people where it's just like, yo, look, maybe mama can't make it to, I don't know if she plays sports, mama can't make it to her sports, but your two partners can.
It's three or four partners.
3 or 4 partners can. Hello, 5, 6, 7. How many colors are in the rainbow? No, don't joke. Don't joke. Look, you got a whole nother team like in the cheer section, yo. Look, I fucking love that. Like if my polycule came out to support like me and or like this human being that we're raising, that sounds fucking incredible. And also, it's not that far off from the way that a lot of us, especially as Black people, were raised when like our aunties and our uncles and our cousins or whomever came out to support us. So many of those people are chosen family, and yet for some reason, you know, like polyamory seems like such a weird concept. And it's just like, well, in a lot of ways, it's chosen
when
family.
Folks get remarried as well. You've got stepmom, you've got stepdad, you've got there's a lot of different listen, Bell Hooks wrote, Shanti, you need to read Communion, The Female Search for Love, and Bell Hooks talks about how women should explore circles of love, which are intimate relationships that allow sexual intercourse between more than one partner. And also, we didn't touch on it, but polyamory is not also limited to, it's not defined by sex either.
Not at all.
There's more folks than I'm realizing who are practicing polyamory, and they're not having sex with every partner whatsoever. They're just truly in love, and they share intimacy. They help each other out financially. There's a responsibility that they have for one another, which is also really beautiful.
Yeah. So on that note of like hierarchy, I do not do hierarchy in my relationships. Like my partner is not my primary partner. I'm not her primary partner. Because it also doesn't feel good to say like, oh, that person's my secondary or my tertiary, or I'm just like a secondary. That doesn't feel like great to me. I also identify as a relationship anarchist. So like what that means is that I see all of my relationships as like inherently like equal. Like I I really reject and rebuke a lot of like what we see in culture around like, oh, once you have a partner, like all of your other relationships don't fucking matter, or you can treat them like trash. That doesn't feel good. I also don't love the idea of where it's like seeing every other person, and this is as a threat to like the relationship. I feel like that's more so in like toxic monogamy culture. But again, it's just like, yeah, like that's not what this is. Like, it is safe to flirt over here. It is safe to like flirt with my partner if you want to do that. And if they're open to that, they're a whole ass human being. But also just like recognize, like, if you can't hang, you can't bang. So it's like, if you are not like, if you're not also like healing on a path of healing, if you don't understand like how to have conversations around your emotions, your around sexual safety, around jealousy and shit like that, you're probably going to have a really bad time. In which case it's just like, yo, like, all love to you, but like, we are not compatible in a romantic way. And that's okay. We can be friends. Like, the depth of our intimacy can just be platonic. That's beautiful. I love my platonic friends deeply, 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 deeply. And I think so many other people should do the same, where it's like, I told a former lover recently, where I was just like, yo, like, the most devastating thing for me would be if, like, you know, you want to have a husband. I hope that you find that husband that you can get married to and have kids. And I just hope that like me and your husband can also be cool. I hope that like we can be friends. The people who I'm dating, they all know each other. Some of them are closer than others. And I tell folks, it's just like, yo, like, my community, like, you are now part of my community. My community is very important to me. I hope that you find one or two people that you really, really fuck with. You don't have to fuck with everybody, but like, find one or two people. It's just going to make it more fun. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the case, amazing. Because I care about my community so deeply, and you being a part of it means something to me. So welcome.
And on that note, Dar, where can folks find you? How can folks be a part of Bananas?
Yeah.
Its membership. Give the people, plug yourself, please, so people can keep in touch.
Yeah. So right now you can follow me on Instagram at DLaBeach. You can also follow Bunanunas at Bunanunas_co for collective. If you are a polyamorous, friendly black hottie and you want to be a part of this collective and the love and abundance that we have, you can apply for membership. We tell everyone that you should be referred by an existing member, and you should attend like one or two events, probably before you apply, because this is very much an intentional community that we are curating. I'm absolutely gatekeeping this community because I want people to believe that this is a place for them. I want them to know it inherently. So come and meet some niggas and find out if you actually rock with us before you just try to like subscribe to a thing. Do you like the people that are in this community? What do you want to give to this community? What do you want to gain from this community? Have some clarity on that. And then if this feels right for you, beloved, we would love to have you.
Can you spell it for folks?
Yeah. Bunanunas, BOONOONOONOOS. Bunanunas.
And it will be linked in the description, everybody. Make sure that we link that so that you're not trying to write that down really, really quickly. Dar, do you have like 3 more minutes for rapid fire questions?
Ooh, yeah. Let's do it. Milo, can we do that?
Milo, you good?
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
I don't answer.
I have them pulled up, Queen. Can you give us the spiel on the rapid fire question rules?
So we're going to give you 2 options. You can only choose one of the 2 options. You have 3 seconds to answer with no time to ask us questions or to defend, or it's just you answer the question.
And we keep it pushing.
Kind of have to answer them all, but you can also say,
I hate when you give people that out.
I decline.
I'm not going to take it.
Consent.
Let's do it.
Like consent. Okay.
That's fine.
I know.
If I really don't want to answer something, you will know. But let's do it.
Pass. That's the word.
Malcolm or Martin?
Malcolm.
Generational wealth or familial happiness?
Familial happiness.
Jay or Nas?
Nas.
Whoa. Mac or Sephora?
Sephora.
Palestine or Israel?
Palestine.
In the light or in the dark?
In the dark.
Prince or Michael?
Prince.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Trader Joe's or Whole Foods?
Trader Joe's.
Voodoo or brown sugar?
Brown sugar.
Family or career?
Family.
A seat at the table or lemonade?
Pass.
Evolution or creationism?
What was it?
Evolution or creationism?
Oh, evolution.
Nicki or Cardi?
Actually, I take that back. Creationism. Nicki or Cardi? Cardi.
Jollof or rice and peas?
Rice and peas.
Missionary or doggy style?
Missionary.
Protection or pull out in prayer?
Protection.
Is it Uchi Wally Wally or is it one mic?
Uchi Wally Wally.
Love Jones or Jason's lyric?
Ooh, Love Jones.
Sir or Rumi?
Rumi.
Lisa Bonet or Nia Long? Look at his face. Oh my God, your face.
Lisa.
Bell Hooks or Audre Lorde?
Ooh. Oh. I'm gonna go with Belle.
Stress. Make your girl a plate or have her get her own?
Make her a plate.
Nuck if you buck or Annie up?
Not give you buck.
9/11, inside job or terrorist attack?
Inside job.
Rihanna or Beyonce?
Rihanna.
Biggie or Pac?
Pac.
Erica or Jill?
Erica.
Brandy or Monica?
Brandy.
Read a book or watch the movie?
Read a book.
Sundress or sweatpants?
Sweatpants.
Toni Morrison or Alice Walker?
Toni Morrison.
W.E.B. Du Bois or what's his face? Oh shit, I forgot his name. James Baldwin.
Baldwin.
SWV or Escape?
What?
SWV or Escape?
Escape.
Flats or drums?
Drums.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Travel back in time or travel forward in
Forward
time?
in time.
Insecure, Issa or Molly?
Molly.
Prove your point or pray for peace?
Pray for peace.
And finally, Love and Light or Money and Clits?
And clits?
Yes.
Love and light.
You
Dar,
thought
what's
about
your
it
sign?
though.
I did think about it. Love
What's
and
your sign, Dar?
Oh, what do you think it is, Shanti?
I don't know.
I'm a Gemini.
There's got to be Scorpio in your chart.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a Scorpio moon
Oh, okay. I was like, wait.
and a
I
Cancer
do remember
rising.
you being. Oh God.
That's what I said, yo. I'm a tender ass nigga, yo.
You are
Truly.
quite. Whoa. All right. Thank you so much. You
Thank
are so
you.
generous. I hope we can do it again.
Please.
I hope to see you again. Everyone, please follow him. Look at the description. Take a peek at Bonononas. And hopefully you got something from this. I think you're one of the most ethical, honest, dope-ass men that's been on this fucking
Yes, thank you for the work that you're doing. Yes.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before you go?
Yeah, I hope that folks, I really just hope that folks ask themselves what it is that they want after listening to this conversation and being really clear about that and not being ashamed or afraid to share that with other people. I hope that if you are polyamorous, you want to tap in with us and join our collective. I'm building a website. There will be a website coming soon. And also, I think our next game night will be more of an erotic, sexy, after dark game night. So please read before you come to this one.
Ciao.
Uh-huh.
We'll show up like, wait, what?
Right?
Take off my what?
Where your clothes at? Why you naked?
I'm here like, it smell funny in here.
We
Why the lights off?
girl. Yeah.
Funny in here.
No, I heard you. Read, y'all. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have shied away if I'm being completely honest. So I'm very happy. Everything works out as it should.
I was so happy to see you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't even say we met in Ghana way before all this, super randomly. Shout out to the year of the return. I was like, yo, who are you? You was like, yo, who are you? We was like, all right, let's be friends. And that's how it happened.
So easy, as it should be.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right,
You're worthy
y'all.
so much.
You are worthy. And with that, we are out. Thank you.
Thank
Let me
you.
stop recording.